Right.
Look, and
All
well, I
right.
want to know if we wished you happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah, we did. And we even sang a little,
Echo was
well,
late.
Emily
Yeah.
sang a little song for them.
I sang Yahoo Led Ma Sameach.
I
Mm.
kind of hummed along.
Well, we could sing it again if you want.
Next to last word on the first line.
Yuchal.
Yuchal.
Yuchal. Okay.
Yuchal is the passive able.
No, it's just a
Was able, and
whole
then
versus
Lo Yuchal
hal.
was not able.
You
Okay.
sure it's not U-Haul? Like, you get a
Yeah. He
You
wasn't
all.
able to- right. He was not able to rent a U-Haul for all of his stuff.
Good joke, Emily.
And all of these words that are ending in this particular one with the yud vav. But
Yeah, the yud vav, the yud is silent because the yud has no vowel, and it's not at the end of the word.
it's always love, for instance. And not
Yes,
love. Okay.
All right.
except when it's echa, like down here on the third line.
Where's where's that?
Anecha.
Next to last word on the third line is echa, and again the yud has no.
Where is it? Where are you? I'm sorry.
The next to last word on the third line.
Next, but that's
Fanecha.
Anecha?
Oh, Fanecha.
Fanecha?
Panecha.
Fanecha.
Is it Panecha or
No,
Panecha?
no, it's
Oh,
fa.
there's no dot, so it's
a fa.
fanecha in this particular
Ah.
case.
but why
But
is
again,
that?
it's
Are you saying the yud here when you say that?
no echa, not echa, echa.
Fanecha.
So it's not the exception. It's not an exception.
So that's part of that's the same yud that's in the av ones.
Yud.
Oh, okay.
So it's the same. It's silent.
The same as the av here.
Yeah.
Again,
So
the
you just
yud there
pronounce
is the yud there is an indicator, not a vocalized letter.
Okay.
All right, so we're on verse 10. We're in the Ephraimite, the E story, northern, coastal, whatever we want to say, where Joseph now has brought his two sons who were born in Egypt. Ephraim and Manasseh are actually in birth order, Manasseh and Ephraim, to Jacob to introduce him to them. We had the problematic verses last week of he brought them, and Yaakov, Yisrael, recognizes them. Then he has a little mind-wandering moment, and then he starts again and says, "Who are these two?" And now he has been reintroduced to them. And ve'enei Yisrael kavdu mizoken lo yuchal lirot vayagesh otam elav vayishak lahem vayichabek lahem. So we start with ve'enei Yisrael, the eyes of Israel. Kavdu mizoken, literally were heavy from age. Or aging. Zaken is old. So he had old eyes, cataracts, glaucoma, he's got it all. Do we remember any other blessing by an old, hard of seeing man?
Yitzhak.
Yitzhak.
Yeah, Yitzchak, remember when Yaakov, Esav have their thing.
Mhm.
And in that particular case, it said that his eyes had dimmed. And here it's saying that Yaakov's eyes are heavy with age. But in both cases, lo yuchal lirot, not able to see. So and that would then also be a part of the why he says, who are these two? So one can rationalize the two different texts that we had by saying that he's talking about Joseph and his two sons, and then Joseph brings the two sons, and Jacob can't see who's there and says, who's with you? He can only see shadows or images. But in any case, he's not seeing well. which will play into the later part of the story, when Joseph will think that he didn't see well, as opposed to he's going to say, I know exactly what I'm doing. So apparently he's seeing well enough. But it starts with the eyes of Israel are heavy with age, and he is not able to see. Vayagesh otam elav, and he brought them to him. So again, we've got lots of cases in the Torah where we have pronouns with no definitive antecedent, but here it would be pretty clear from the track of the story that we've had till this point. Vayagesh, the he brought close, is the Joseph doing it. Otam would clearly be the two boys. Elav to him would be to his father, Yaakov Yisrael. So Joseph brings the two boys, approaches his father. Vayishak lahem, and he kissed them. Vayichabek lahem, and he hugged them. And now we're not quite clear, is he's bringing them close, and Joseph, is kissing his two boys and hugging them, or he brings them close and puts them where they are in the reach of Jacob, and Jacob kisses them and hugs them.
That makes more sense.
Well, let's go on with the story. And one makes more sense, but one might be more dramatic. So we've got a stage script which requires a director's input as to how it's going to be actually choreographed. 11. Vayomer Yisrael el Yosef, Ra'o fanecha lo filalti v'hine her'a oti Elohim gam et zarecha. Vayomer Yisrael el Yosef, Yisrael says to Yosef, Ra'o fanecha. Ra'o is an infinitive form of the verb seeing. So seeing your face, or to see your face, lo filalti, I did not pray. Filal is where we get the word tefillah.
Oh,
So let me ask you, why wouldn't it also be not seeing your face?
There's no, lo filalti, because then it would be lo ra'o.
Oh, so the low would be before ra'o.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
When one could translate, which would create a whole new midrash, because there isn't punctuation again, one could translate as ra'o fanecha lo. Seeing your face not.
That's what I meant. That's what I was
And
wondering.
then filalti, I prayed. But that would then mean that Jacob is saying, I prayed never to see your face again, my son. Which doesn't quite fit. And the word order doesn't really support that.
Okay, thank you.
But, if you want to make a midrash where you play with the words in that order, just off the cuff based on what you said, why would Israel pray not to see his son's face? Because he has believed for these 17 years and more that his son has been torn apart by wild beasts and he doesn't want to see the body. So yes, if you want to really do a stretch of interpretation, you can play with something along those lines. But unfortunately, we know that when a person dies and we don't see them, it's more unfinished business that no matter what shape the body is in, you at least would like to see the body. Have one final connection of separation. But the text really doesn't support that midrash. So lo filalti, otherwise it would be lo ra'o, not seeing. So lo filalti, I had not prayed that I could not even bring myself to pray that I would ever see you again. I had no hope. Not that I didn't pray, I always was praying, but a prayer that I knew would never be answered. I couldn't spend time wallowing in the prayer of separation and loss.
So prayer really means hope in this case.
Right. So yeah, the prayer, I had no hope of ever seeing you again. Or, we would say, I had no prayer. Not that I didn't pray, but I had no prayer
Mhm,
in the
Mm.
sense of hope.
mhm.
So I really could not spend all these years just praying to see you again when I knew that would never happen. Somehow I had to go on with life. V'hine her'a oti Elohim, and behold, her'a oti has shown me Elohim. Has shown me you. I had no prayer, I had no hope that I would ever see you again, and God has shown me to you. And not only shown you to me, Gam et zarecha, and also your seed. So
But there is no, to me, you. There's no you in there, right?
V'hine her'a oti has shown me.
Shown me, Elohim has shown to me, and
Right,
also your seed, right?
right. And the you is clear from the re'ofanecha, seeing your face. Seeing your face, I had no hope, no prayer, but God has shown to me your face from the previous.
I got
And
it.
not only did I get to see you, but I got to see your offspring. Which, by the way, we really don't have a chronology clear as to how old are they. They're the children of Asnat Bat Potiphera, his Egyptian wife, but how quickly did she get pregnant? And we don't know. So they're toddlers to teenagers.
So his wife was Egyptian, not Jewish. So
Oh, his
when,
wife is clearly Egyptian.
yeah. So when did the matrilinear connection with Judaism start?
In the early rabbinic period.
Oh,
Because throughout the Tanakh, the tribes are all patrilineal.
Oh,
You're a Kohen because your father was a Kohen. You're an Ephraimite or a Judahite or a Gadite or whatever because your father was one of those. That's that whole issue that Slavkad's daughters will raise with Moses in a later generation. Will our father's name disappear? Will our children be lost from the tribe of our father?
Josh that said that she was really from Jewish lineage.
So, well, the rabbis have her convert.
oh,
Who's that?
I mean, once you're in matrilineal descent, Ephraim and Manasseh, the children by whom we bless our sons historically for 1,000 years and more, are the children of a non-Jewish mother. So either mom had to convert before they were born, or Joseph had to convert them after they were born. But that's a rabbinic dilemma. That's not a biblical dilemma. They are not only the children of the tribe of Joseph, but they become each their own specific tribe. So the motherness of them is irrelevant in the Torah.
So what about Abraham's two sons? Were they both Jewish?
No, neither one's Jewish because Jewish doesn't happen until Abraham's great-grandson Judah comes along. And they are not Israelite because they can't be Israelite until Abraham's grandson Yaakov Yisrael comes along. So they are at the most Ivrim. They are at the most Hebrews. So Abraham's two sons would be at best Hebrews. So the whole, Bible stories for little children that Abraham was the first Jew is totally anachronistic. And we're not even sure if Abraham was the first monotheist. But that's
We know-
irrelevant to the text,
But we know
biblical
there's
standpoint.
no indication that he smashed his father's idols.
Yeah, that's all rabbinic midrash.
Okay, so where are we? Okay, we're at 12. Right.
So we're now, I had not hoped, and verse 12. Vayotze Yosef otam me'im birkav, vayishtachu la'apav artza. So now, if we have them close enough to Jacob rather, that Jacob hugged and kissed them, then Joseph had to pull them back and start all over again. If, on the other hand, we have Joseph bringing them forward and hugging and kissing them before he sends them into the grip of their grandfather, adopted father, then verse 12 makes sense. Because it says, Vayotze Yosef otam, and Joseph sent them out. Vayotze Yosef sent out, otam them, me'im birkav, from in his knees.
What is Berkav?
Berech, knee. Birkav, his knees, his knees. So right now, he's sitting there with his two boys between his knees.
Now you put brought out. Is that
Well,
similar?
yeah, Yotze is sent out, brought out,
Okay.
go out.
From with his knees.
He
Oh.
brings out, yeah, from within, from with his knees, from in his knees.
So Yishtachu is from within?
No, me'im, from with. Birkav, his knees. Vayishtachu, and they prostrated, they bowed down.
Yishtachu is the prostrated.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
La'apav, and they went so far down that their noses hit the ground. They vayishtachu la'apav artza, they prostrated, they bowed down to their noses, or to his nose, artza. Landward, groundward, earthward. So they're bowing down with their noses to the ground. Or Joseph is bowing them down. He brings them out, pushes their heads down to the ground. Vayikach Yosef et shnehem, and then he takes. So Vayikach Yosef et shnehem et Ephraim bimino mismol Yisrael ve'et Menashe vismolo mimin Yisrael vayagesh elav. So we're getting very clear stage directions, director instructions here in verse 13 for the dramatic play of the reunification of Joseph and Jacob with his two sons, now having been adopted in a previous part of the story. And again, this whole scenario would indicate that up until this point, the boys have been with Joseph, and Joseph, therefore, would have been the one kissing and hugging them, which they probably tolerated if they were toddlers or very young children than they would have tolerated if they were teenagers. But that's family dynamics. 13 says, Vayikach Yosef et shnehem. So Joseph now takes the two of them, shnehem, two of them, and he takes Ephraim in his right hand, which then puts him on the left hand of Yisrael. So he's taking them forward, and he puts his right hand there, which puts that to the left of Yisrael, of his father,
Now,
moving them forward.
is there a word hand here or just in his
So
right?
literally it says, he took the two of them, Ephraim bimino in his right, mismol Yisrael from left of Yisrael. And Menashe vismolo in his left, mimin Yisrael from the right, on the right of Yisrael. So yes, there is no hand. Literally just on his right to the left and on his left to the right.
Well, it's funny because if they're facing each other, that's pushing each one forward.
Yes, but he's got Ephraim, his younger, on his own right hand, which then puts him on the left side of his father, whom he's facing.
Right. So it's just pushing him forward.
Yes, but it's very clearly he has his younger one on his right, and
Yeah.
one would have expected him to have his older one on his own right,
Why?
because your right is your good and left is left out.
Ah.
Oh, I never heard that one. Oh.
But he already established his order last time.
Yeah, so one would expect him to take his elder on his right side, his strong side, and his leftover one on his weak side. But he switches them in his birth order statement, so they will be in correct birth order statement to his father who's facing him. So he very clearly takes them in opposite birth order from himself to put them in correct birth order as he pushes them towards his father.
So Ephraim's technically will be on his right.
Ephraim is placed on his right side, which puts him on the left side of Jacob when he gets pushed forward. And Menashe he puts on his own left, which then puts him on the right of Yisrael. And then, yes, Vayagesh Elav, and then he pushes them. And then they approach to him. That is, that is Joseph, approaches to him, that is Yisrael, his father. So he's got the boys set up for their blessing from his father in the correct birth order for his father, in the opposite birth order for himself.
So he blessed them differently he's blessed them in the opposite way last time, right?
Well, yes, that was the red story. In the blue story, he hasn't blessed them yet.
Mm.
So in both stories, Ephraim gets the blessing over Menashe. In the red story, Ephraim got the blessing over Menashe without commentary in the text. In the blue story, Ephraim gets the blessing over Menashe with commentary in the text. And the reason for that is, again, who told the story. The red story was the story of the Judah tribe about the northern kingdom, and it didn't really care why Ephraim is the predominant one. In the blue story, which is the Ephraim story, we care why Ephraim is the predominant one over Menashe.
But didn't you just say they're in the correct birth order now with Yisrael?
They are in the correct birth order, which means if Jacob were to reach out his right hand, it would go on Menashe's head.
Mm-hmm.
But then Menashe would get the blessing over Ephraim, and we know that doesn't happen. So therefore, we have to somehow get Ephraim get the better blessing, the right hand blessing. So we're set up. They're walking forward with the boys on the correct side for Yisrael, on the opposite side for Joseph. Vayishlach Yisrael et yamino, vayashet al rosh Ephraim, v'hu hatzair, ve'et smolo al rosh Menashe, sikel et yadav, ki Menashe habechor. So now, Vayishlach, and he sent out. So he thrust out Yisrael et yamino. He put out his right. Yisrael put out his right. Vayashet al rosh Ephraim, and he placed it. Vayashet, he placed. Vayashet al rosh Ephraim, he placed it on the head of Ephraim. And Ephraim, we're reminded, is Hu Hatzair, he's the younger. And at Smolo and his left, Al Rosh Menashe, on the head of Menashe, Sikel et Yadav, he switched up, he crossed up his hands. So instead of reaching out like this, he went like this.
Yeah.
So Yisrael crosses his hands with the word Sikel, which we'll come back to. Ki Menashe HaBechor, for Menashe is the firstborn. So he's putting his right hand on the head of Ephraim, who is to his left, and he's putting his left hand on the head of Menashe, who is to his right. Remember, we've already been told he doesn't see well.
Oh, yeah, he sees well enough to do this, though.
Exactly. His eyes are heavy with age.
Yeah, but not totally.
But he sikel et yadav, and the rabbis do a lot of commentary on the word sikel
Well, he
because they
interviewed
relate it to the word seichel,
Um,
which is knowingly,
mhm.
with insight and knowledge.
Where's that word? I'm trying to find it. Oh, here it
What
is.
he
Okay.
does too after he places his left hand on Menashe instead of his right hand straight forward, crossing his hand, sikel. I like to drosh that word to say that was the reason why my great-grandfather changed the name from Sokolovsky to Sikol, so that I could then continue the family tradition of crossing people up knowingly and not doing what was expected.
Is there a Yiddish word, sechel?
Yeah, seichel comes from the Hebrew.
And what is it, how is it used in Yiddish? Because it was one of the few Yiddish words that was used in my home, along
So
with,
seichel can be used straightforward or ironically.
yeah, it's probably ironic, but
So when it took a lot of seichel to do that.
I thought it was like
Complimenting
common
the
sense.
person.
I thought
It's
it was
a
like
little-
common sense.
Well,
have a little
again,
sickle, right?
sometimes you're saying people had seichel when you want to make sure that you know they didn't.
See, I always thought sechel, when someone has sechel, they do have common sense. I
Yeah,
thought.
that's the positive version of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But depending on your tone of voice,
yes, sickle. Okay.
yeah, I mean, I tried to beat the railroad crossing arm as it was coming down. Yeah, it takes a lot of seichel to do that.
Okay.
I haven't heard that word for over 50 years. I love it.
So
Is
the
your name
rabbis
really
relate the
derived from that?
sikel
Is
as
your name really like that?
Sikol?
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay.
And it's got the right letters, Sikel, Sikol.
Yeah.
But she means.
Rabbi Sam has a lot of common sense.
He does. He does.
Yeah,
All
but
right,
wasn't-
so, and Menashe, verse 15, Vayavarech et Yosef, so he blesses Yosef. The statement here is not he's blessing Ephraim and Menashe, he's blessing Yosef. He's blessing Yosef through his sons. So Vayavarech et Yosef, Vayomar, and he said, Ha'Elohim asher hitchalchu of avotai lefanav, Avraham v'Yitzchak, Ha'Elohim haro'eh oti me'odi ad hayom hazeh. So he has a whole preamble to his blessing of the two boys, which is going to take up most of next week. So Vayavarech et Yosef, he blessed Yosef, Vayomar, and he said, Ha Elohim asher hit ahalchu avotai, the God or the gods that walked together, avotai, my fathers, lefanav, Avraham v'Yitzchak. So God who walked with my fathers, who walked in mutual relationship. Hithalchu again is the reflexive mutual form of the verb holech, to go or to walk. So God who walked with my fathers, Lefanav, before him, that is before God, Avraham and Yitzchak, Avraham and Yitzchak, Ha-Elohim ha-Ro'eh-Oti, and the God who is the shepherd of me, or who the shepherds me. So this is the God who walked with my fathers and shepherds me. Me'odi ad hayom hazeh, from my very beginning, from way back when, up to this day. So before he can bless Joseph in the name of Elohim, he's got to give Elohim's CV, his credentials. He's giving a little voir dire to Elohim. This is the God, the one that I'm blessing you in the name of. The God who's blessing you is the one who walked with my fathers before me, before him, and the one who shepherds me and has been shepherding me basically all my life. We haven't gotten to the actual blessing yet. Next week, we get the blessing. So here's your work for March 2nd, which is also Adar 2nd. For the first 29 days of March, the days of March are the days of Adar. Which happened in January for 30 days and then disappeared because January had 31 days, but it reappears because February with 28 days gave the Hebrew months time to catch up again. So this is going to continue the introduction to the God before we get to the actual blessing. And in between, we're going to get Joseph suddenly looks up and realizes that his father's got the hands crossed. So he's going to try and do that. And finally, we will end with the actual blessing of Ephraim and Manasseh, which from the introduction is actually the blessing of Joseph. But here's your practice reading. Hamalach hagoel oti mikol ra yivarech et hane'arim vayikare vahem shemi v'shem avotai Avraham v'Yitzchak vayidgu larov v'kerev haaretz. Verse 17. Vayar Yosef ki yashit aviv yad yamino al rosh Ephraim vayera be'enav vayitmoch yad aviv lahasir ota me'al rosh Ephraim al rosh Menashe. 18. Vayomer Yosef el aviv lo chen avi ki zeh ha-bechor sim yamincha al rosho. 19. Vayima'en aviv vayomer yadati v'ni yadati gam hu yihyeh la'am v'gam hu yigdal v'ulam achiv hakaton yigdal mimenu v'zar'o yihyeh melo hagoyim. And verse 20. Vayevarachem bayom hahu lemor. Becha yevarech Yisrael lemor. Yisimcha Elohim ke Ephraim v'chim Menashe. Vayasem et Ephraim lifnei Menashe. And next week we can talk about the blessing of Ephraim and Manasseh and all the different things the rabbis say about the blessing of Ephraim and Manasseh, why should all Israel, from then on, all the descendants of Jacob Israel, bless their children in the name of Israel by asking them to be like Ephraim and Manasseh, the two boys of an Egyptian non-Jewish princess.
Well, history is strange.
So, and biblical literature again, written for a generation or a series of generations for specific needs and awarenesses of those generations, explaining not necessarily how to do things, but why we are doing things. So, who started the blessing of the Israelite children in the name of Ephraim and Manasseh? We don't know. We do know that by the time the Torah author is writing these stories, they are doing that in the northern kingdom. We don't know that they're doing it in the southern kingdom because that's not a statement we had back in the red story. But rather in the red story, Ephraim was blessed over Manasseh without further ado. So was this a northern kingdom ritual that was adopted by the later combined kingdom of Israel when the northern kingdom influence in the southern kingdom has grown? But the northern kingdom statement is, we didn't start it. It's been happening ever since our ancestor Yisrael said to do it. And is that actually a polemic statement by the northern kingdom against the southern kingdom, who wasn't doing it at this particular time of the stories?
Now, isn't the Northern Kingdom much further from the location of the story? The story was in the south, right?
Well, they're in Egypt.
Right. So the Northern Kingdom is far away. The Southern Kingdom should be able to claim that they know what the customs of their area was.
Oh, they do. But the northern kingdom, remember, are tribes that claim to have originally spent some period of time, 3 generations to 400 years in Egypt. So they may be far away now, but their ancestry is also in Egypt. So they're putting the roots of their ritual of the blessing of the children in the Egyptian period of their habitation. The southern kingdom, which was closer to Egypt, would only know about what was happening in Egypt at the time the stories are written.
Right.
And are, while geographically less removed, are chronologically equally removed. And that is, the southern kingdom does not seem to have inherited the blessing of children in the name of Ephraim and Manasseh, simply knows that Ephraim was blessed over Manasseh. So the southern kingdom and all of them claim that these happened down in Egypt. But all of them happened down in Egypt hundreds of years earlier from when the stories are actually being written down.
Thank you, Rabbi. I think I'm going to scoot early because I'm going to be doing this other stuff I'm doing, the CEU thing.
Yes, we're closing now.